Has anybody ever told you look like A$AP Rocky, the Rihanna husband, or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Someone has told me that before. I'm like, they said I'm the low budget A$AP Rocky. I've had that before.
Yeah.
And also someone has told me I look like Epas,
A-Pass. Oh, wow.
which was like, I always thought I was handsome, but now I look like Epas. When he sees this, he will kill me.
Hey, UG boy, let's talk to them. Let's talk, let's talk to them. Let's talk to, let's talk to them. Let's talk, let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa, with timeless stories untold. What's up, dog?
Three, two, one, go.
Omusajja wuyo sayagadde bikalubya. Welcome once again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, on the podcast where I bring your famous people, your celebrities, and anybody and everybody out there that wants to come on here to have a conversation with me. And today I'm honored to have Mr. Loukman Ali in the building in our studios. It's been hard to get Mr. Loukman. Actually, I think I reached out to you. I think I reached out to you to have you on the podcast like 2 years back. But I'm glad I have you on the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you? How is Detroit?
Detroit is not bad. It didn't with snow, but we're persevering.
Nice.
First thing I want to put out of the way. Fenai Batuzala, when we are born, we have these names like Bono Chibuka is my name. What is your government name?
My government name is Loukman Ali.
Are you serious?
Yeah, when I was born, I was given a name Loukman Ali. That's the name I was given. Yeah.
It's I think there's a soccer player, they call him Loukman, but I thought this was kind of like a stage name or your name for like a business name.
Actually, before I had 3 names. I had to drop one because I figured that it might hinder my travel. Yeah. Before it was Loukman Said bin Ali. So I think I could, around September 11th there, I still had a chance to change my name. So I dropped the Said and the bin. I was like, let me just keep Loukman Ali. But it's a funny thing because I'm also trying to change my names now. I want to use my mom's side names because my dad's side are mostly Arabic names. So I want to go to my mom's side. Yeah.
Are those like Christian names on your mom's side?
No, it's mostly like African names. So
okay.
The name that I might pick that I'm trying to register now is actually, I think it's either Rwagatera or Katera, like a simplified version of that one. Yeah.
That's funny because I have a similar story. That in P7, my parents gave me 3 names. And I go with Bono Chibuka right now. The third name, I deleted that off my names because I didn't like the name. And I told them, because kids were making fun of me at school. Nendi Jako ku P7. So I did not register that name. So I kept just 2 names. Names are funny, and what you can do with names. Like even when I got my citizenship in the US, I could change my name if I wanted to. So they give you that offer. Like when you become a US citizen, you can change your name. I almost changed it to Chad Smith. Simani Ruachi, but that's the name.
Chad Smith. What? But anyways, I can see how that can be important over there because if you are sending out a resume looking for a job in the US, if you have Chad Smith, they're probably going to listen and check what you have. But if you have like Fide Bongo Lutaya, I'm going to think, Is this another illegal?
Yeah, that's true. But it might just help a little bit, but it might not help much because you're not gonna change the color of your skin, so that is gonna still hinder you in that area.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, we were talking about a game, and on your Instagram, you have Call of Duty Warrior.
Yes.
So do you play a lot of video games?
Not really. I don't play a lot of them. I only play like fast shooter games. I even like Grand Theft Auto. I tried, but I just go around shooting people aimlessly. I don't follow the story. So even with Call of Duty, I used to play online, but I was playing Call of Duty. Is it like 1 or 2? The very very old one.
Yeah.
Where you can only shoot one shot. And then I upgraded to like Modern Warfare. I think it's 3 or 4. One of those two. I have the latest ones, but I play the old ones because they take me back to my childhood days. Yes.
I played a few video games from DOP. I grew up with Dan DOP. He has a game shop. I don't know if you've checked it out downstairs. I think on level 2. But he's into games, and I never picked up on shooting games. I'm not good at aiming. That's why I get frustrated even when I play Call of Duty. Like my gun will always be going sideways instead of like aiming at the person. So I ended up just playing FIFA, but I wasn't really good at it. But anytime I see somebody who is into games, it connects me to him because he loves games, and that's what he's doing for business now. So when I saw Call of Duty Warrior, and I had a recording with him before, and he said he's good at Call of Duty, and I was like, oh, I have to talk to him about this because I know a guy who is into Call of Duty. That's why I brought up the game stuff. But on this podcast, there's a lot of things we're going to cover. I usually don't like to just focus on one. There's a lot of things you've done, and to give the roadmap to the listeners who are tuning in right now, I'm going to focus a lot in your journey as a film producer, the work you've done, and a lot of people know you through that. But before we go into that, I have 4 segments on the podcast that we go through. The first one is called This or That. I ask you have to pick this or that. I have 2 things I mentioned, and then you have to pick one. You can give a reason why you pick the other one and not the other one, and or not the other one. But also, you can just pick because that's your pick and you don't have an explanation for it. That's also an option. So I have 5 of them. I don't know if a lot of people now know that you actually did a lot of sketching, but looking through your Instagram, you have a lot of like sketch work by hand. But would you do sketching by hand or digital art?
I find sketching by hand a lot easier than digital art.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to draw on paper for me. I try. I have a tablet at home, but every time I'm supposed to do storyboards, I always end up pulling out my book and a pencil. Yeah, for some reason.
And actually, that's gonna come up later on because there's somewhere I want to ask you about that because it's crazy how that mind works. Because for me, I would think it's easier, like digital art, it's easier to just mess with the computer. But hearing you say like it's by hand is easier, and it's crazy. But we're going to talk about that later on in details. Directing action films or psychological thrillers, which one would you do?
Psychological thrillers are more interesting, to be honest.
Have you done any?
Yeah, I think I have. I like, because in every psychological thriller, there's always going to be an action part. But a full-on action film, it's really not my cup of tea. For some reason, people think I like that. I don't know why, but I'm more interested in like a very, suspenseful story, and then there's like an action sequence, 1 or 2 of them, not like back-to-back action.
Motion graphics design or film editing?
Film editing. Editing is so interesting. It's actually my favorite thing to do. Editing. If you have like a well-shot film, like something that has been filmed really well, when you're editing, like you can watch a story form. It's amazing. Yeah.
So you produce and edit your own films, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever acted once in your own movie?
No, I can't. I don't think I can manage. But I acted back in school, and I don't think I'm that good at it. Yeah. Yeah.
Call of Duty multiplayer or story mode?
Story mode, because every time I've done multiplayer, they've killed me before. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah.
It's fun when you can like at least on story mode, I can lower the difficulties and slowly learn the map. Yeah, but if you are playing multiplayer, it's like you're in veteran mode the entire time. People just kill you, you know.
But I thought multiplayer, like you have other people helping you, like protecting you and guiding you and all that.
I've not played Call of Duty. Like usually the multiplayers I've played are like Capture the Flag, Deathmatch,
Okay.
things like that, like protecting a headquarters. Those ones are nice where you have like a team. But on online, most multiplayers I've found are like death matches where everyone is on their every man for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's just not fun.
The last one, big budget Hollywood film or indie passion project?
I mean, with the Hollywood one, you get me with the budget, but I prefer like not very high budget films. I prefer films that are like moderate budget, because then you have more freedom to like be creative and do things. Anytime there's a lot of money, there's so many people that are going to be trying to get you to do things the way they think, because people tend to think that they know what people want, and which is usually, for me, I believe if you do the thing that you love the way that you want it, there will be people like you that will love it so much, as opposed to trying to appeal to everyone, because you can't.
So that's this or that. 5 questions and I already had. It's just kind of give you a wide perspective on the things that you do, and for the listeners. So now this segment is where we dive into your journey, your progression, where you started from and where you are at. And along that, I have a belief that some of the things you would say will inspire somebody who is looking at Loukman Ali as a motivation, or like somebody they look up to. Like I said, when I asked you the question about sketching, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I knew you, like before I knew what you had done in the past, I just knew you through the films that I've seen 2020, 2021, 2025. But like back there, you actually started off with pencil drawing, and there's a cool picture of Jason Statham that I saw that you did years back. I think it was like 2013.
Yeah.
How did you get into pencil drawing? Is that just a talent, you're born like that, or is it something you had to learn?
I got into pencil sketching when I was like 5 years old. So this is something that I didn't even know was like a special skill. This is something I used to do in school, and it just always felt... okay, so back then, movies were only showed on Saturdays, I think, in the night. So sketching was a way for me to kind of relieve that moment. So you watch a movie like First Blood Part 2, and then
I like First Blood.
You do a couple of sketches of that movie, so that in your brain, like, you keep reimagining the movie, because it's not like today where you can just go back and watch it anytime. Yeah, so that was kind of my way to keep myself entertained. I was drawing like comic books. You kind of come up with a story in your head and you draw this comic book, and as you're drawing, you're narrating what the people are doing. This one is killing this one, like that. So that's how I started. Yeah.
Those are fun. And I used to see these in Kampala about the people who were selling them on sale. Somebody makes a portrait of somebody and gifts it to them. I like them because those ones, it's somebody's handwork. I mean, even digital art is somebody's handwork, but like this one, somebody actually took a time to do it by hand. So it's more precious than the other thing that just gets printed. I had a picture because I lost track of time, like I told you, but I had some pictures I was going to share with you for you to just explain what you think about it. That picture, do you remember that picture?
Yeah. This is one of those when I just got an Instagram and I didn't know what to post, so I just took a picture of my light and a window. That's it.
I didn't take a picture of the caption, but that was your first picture that you took with a DSLR camera.
Yes, yes.
And that was the caption underneath it. It was like my first picture of a DSLR. So I went back to your old, because I like that. I want to know like how your growth, your journey has been. And I like the smile you had on your face when you first seen the picture.
Yeah. It takes me back. This is the very first camera I've ever owned in my life. So that was when I got that.
And your first camera was a Nikon. What do you think about Nikon now?
I think I've had enough time with cameras to not really have an opinion on any brand, because I feel like every brand has like a really good camera in their arsenal, and then they also have some not very good ones. If you get a really really nice Nikon, they're really good ones. They have good lenses. Same with Canon. Even Blackmagic, they have some really good ones, and they also have some cheap ones that are not that good.
I also saw like Blackmagic was your second camera that you got also, like when in your progression.
Yeah, it's because it was cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Something
cheap.
that you say actually that I pick up on that is like a lot of people say, "Hey, good. Camera ikubabulonje chifananyi. Your camera takes good pictures." And I've seen people starting to do these clips where they put a camera there and they say kekube chifananyi. Like make it take a picture of you to show that it's the person behind the camera that makes like use that camera to take that good picture. If you just say like the camera is taking a good picture, I don't know. Some photographers have been doing like that.
Yeah, but I think they're just being emotional, to be honest, because there are cameras that are very good, and that like a really really good camera, even in the hands of someone who's not that good, the image will be good. Like the composition might not be nice, the framing might not be nice, but the colors will be beautiful, the things will be nice because the camera is very good. Like if you're shooting a video with an Alexa and someone and you're shooting it in a decent location, it's going to look nice. The framing might be off, but the image is just going to be good because the image comes with the camera.
And I think I agree with that because I bought a Sony 6400, and when I took pictures, even without adding any color or editing, I was like, man, that's a nice picture. Like that's a good picture. Like I didn't really put any effort into it, and it's the camera that did that. Yeah, yes, I get to hold the camera.
If cameras didn't matter, then no one would really be buying these expensive ones. Why are all these professional photographers and videographers always preferring to use the top end cameras? There's a reason for that. It's just that sometimes people, they don't want people to think that their job is just the equipment that they're using. They want to also feel like they're contributing a lot to it. And yes, they are, but you can't just take it away from the camera as well. It's also important.
Yeah, no, I understand that. This will be my second picture. I have a second picture to show you.
Woo. This brings up a lot of memories. I was doing a project in Rwanda.
Oh wow!
Called Sharama. I think must have been 2012. I'm not sure. Is it 2012? I don't know
2012, 2013, I think.
Yes. So it was a MTN campaign where people would win cars, and I did this TV show. Oh my God, I didn't sleep because I did the whole TV show by myself. Okay, I had a crew that would shoot anything that happened out of Kigali, and I was shooting anything that was happening inside Kigali. But I had to edit everything, and so in like 3 days, they go shoot, I shoot, everything comes back together. I edit, I do the 3D stuff, all by myself. Oof, that was a couple of long nights, but it was fun. I met a couple of nice people that I work with up to today.
It is crazy that you started doing these ads like back then, and even just yesterday when I was sending you the text, you're like, "Oh, there's this ad I'm working on, it's taking my time, but just keep reminding me." And to see that till today, you're still making more and plenty, and just even walking through your journey on Instagram. I know it's just Instagram that I was able to see what you've done, which not everything will be on Instagram, but some of the work that you've done that's not even on Instagram. But like to see the progression and all the ads you've done, I can't even imagine how many you've done so far now, because there was even a lot from what I just saw. That was good.
So there's a couple of ads that I've posted, and then there's ads that I've done and I just don't post them because either they were like very, very bad or stuff
Or
like that.
sometimes the owner of the ad doesn't want to share the work. Yeah.
Yeah, or the client insists on the ad being done the way they want it done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just do it for the money, so then it's really not something you want to share with anyone.
Yeah. You talked about the show that you were in Rwanda shooting a show. Was that your first show, or because I also saw you were a DOP on a TV show here in Uganda, the one that featured Flavia and Gaetano. There was a TV show I think was back then. Was that your first one?
So the one Beneath the Lies, I was just a DP.
Okay.
And I DP'd like only 2 episodes. But the reason I'm saying the one in Kigali was my first show. It was a TV show, like these live broadcasts where people call in and win. And at that point, I'd never done anything like that before. But I was... people were under the impression that I'm a professional and I know what I'm doing. So I had to pretend that I actually know these things. and somehow made it happen. So it was very, very, very difficult. We had to figure out like, okay, how do we do a live call-in and film? And using these cinema cameras are they're not like built for what we're trying to do. We're shooting like heavy footage that is so hard to edit in the time frame we have.
Yeah.
Which is why when I was filming this, I was sleeping at the MTN offices inside an office.
Yeah.
They were used to me staying in the office throughout the whole time.
For the listeners who are wondering, because like usually some people will tune like into a podcast like this and they just want to know some of your latest work, like what you have done like today, yesterday. But I like to go back so somebody can actually watch the journey of who Loukman is today. Like Loukman just didn't come out of the blue and just become this guy that we all know that has movies on Netflix and stuff. Like I love following that journey and bringing them to where you are today, and for them to just see what you. And I know through all this, like you had challenges. Everybody, you have days where you want, is this something I'm gonna do? But we cover all that so people can get a picture of that. I also saw a picture of a music video, Namagembe. Are you the one who shot the music video of Namagembe, Maddox Samatimba?
I did, yeah. A lot of the people you see in that video, okay, some of they're like my siblings. I've when that song came out, I think I was like maybe 6 years old or 7. When that song Namagembe first came out, I listened to it. I grew up in a family where there's like the music lovers. My dad used to listen to Gregory Isaac, Bob Marley. So when I was listening to Maddox, it sounded like Gregory Isaac. He has that sound. It sounds like if you put his songs in Gregory Isaac's catalog, you would think that, this is Gregory Isaac singing in Uganda. So good. So I always dreamt of like just being next to that guy. So when I met him and we went through, I wanted to do the whole album for him, the whole Tukolagane album.
Yeah.
Shoot videos for it. Yeah, but I think at the time he also had things he was dealing with. And I'm the type of person that, if I create something, I want it out there. I want it, I don't want to do things and sit on them. So he has his own pace at which he wants to do things. So we weren't able to do everything together. But even today, man, given the opportunity, those songs are like my favorite songs, and it would be so nice to just have at least that album of Tukolagane, like the whole thing out there. That one I would cancel a job and do that one for free.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I love that guy's music so much.
I love his music. I love Maddox's music, and I know I was younger when I had those songs. I don't know how old I was. And when I landed on that, I was like, this guy did this song. It's so crazy. Like the way I love the music and connecting it to it, I was like, there's no way I'm missing this opportunity to just ask you about that experience and how did you land that opportunity in the first place?
No, we met and we found that we had a lot in common. So we just vibed almost instantly. And we started asking which one should we start with? I like Munacharo. I like that of Omukwano. Is it called Omukwano Gwamuna? Something like that. I wanted to start with those, but he wanted to start with Namagembe. We didn't really. We had this idea, like a cinematic idea of how we should do it. But Maddox is a Rasta. He's like, Rastas are like, they are very spontaneous. It's like, okay, now let's shoot that. Now let's shoot this one. So the entire video is more like kind of improvisation between myself and him. We're just driving around and we see something and it's like, let's shoot that. So the story is more, it becomes a bit more subjective and it's abstract. So you make up your own conclusion when you watch it. Yeah.
You are a multi-talented guy. Like I'm surprised you even said you can't act. I mean, I think you can. You just touch kola just. But I feel like you've done music videos, photography, sketching, films, maybe even any other thing that I don't even know. Like what other hobbies do you have? Maybe here kuyimba.
Everyone knows how to sing until until they have to sing for the public.
Yeah.
In my own head, I think I can sing, but you won't catch me trying. So I've done some animation, some motion graphics. Yeah, mostly visual things.
That's amazing. And even before like we finish this conversation, I feel like Uganda is blessed to have a man like you because you have sold our country like outside Uganda, seeing all these achievements that you've done that we're about to dive in, because now I'm going to dive into some of the films that you have done. I might not even finish all the films because you have a lot of films. The first one was The Bad Mexican. What pushed you to do that film, The Bad Mexican, and coming up with that title?
It's actually my very first film is called Monday.
Monday, okay.
Yeah, it's a black and white short film on my YouTube. It's starring a white chick, Ida. Then I went on to do The Bad Mexican. When I was living in Norway, I always hated the content I saw about Uganda. I always felt like it was either corruption or something like poverty porn or something like that. So I always felt like I need to make a couple of films where Ugandans are just like regular people. They're not like people, because not everyone in Uganda lives in a slum. Not everyone in Uganda, is corrupt. There are people that are just like regular people like anywhere else. So The Bad Mexican was basically about a guy that's looking for a job. He's a writer. He's looking for a job, and he thinks he won't get it. He has mabanja debtors, so he kills himself. But before he does that, he gets the job. So and it felt more like I identify with that type of person. He has a car, he has a house that he lives in, but he's still poor. Like he's not like living in a shack, but he's like stressed about money and he's poor in that sense. It's not that poverty that the West envisions us to have, So yeah, after that, I went straight into The Girl in the Yellow Jumper, which that was my third attempt. Yeah, and I still went on with the same sort of idea, just trying to make like regular lives, not like what people think we should be.
I liked The Girl in the Yellow Jumper, and actually that's one of the ones that I want to focus on a little bit more and in depth of it, because it portrays like how you say portrays Uganda. Because I'm proud, like I know I live in the US and but when we do these things, I was like, that's from my country, and it makes me proud. That's why I was telling you earlier that you've raised Uganda to, like, you feel proud to tell your buddies that film is from Uganda. It's on Netflix, and it was amazing when the girl in the yellow jumper. You started working on it in 2019, but it didn't come out till 2020 in April of 18. The trailer was amazing. The trailer was dope. And this is where I wanted to bring the sketching thing that I told you earlier. You posted a clip where you drew the storyline of this film step by step and step by step. You would think, like, for me, when I'm going to do something, I write it like in words. But it was crazy to see that you draw it in picture and actually portray it in the film. Walk me through that processing, like how that helps you to process the thing you want to put on screen.
So my process has changed since then. When I wrote The Bad Mexican, for example, I didn't know how to write at all. I'm very dyslexic, so spellings are very, very hard for me. So when I did that film, I wrote a script in WordPad, Microsoft WordPad, that small app.
Yeah.
And it was mostly bullet points. Guy does this, guy does this, guy does this. When I moved to Girl in the Yellow Jumper, I was a bit more familiar with like structure of format, rather, not structure, but format of how scripts are written. So the formatting of like, you have dialogue here, you have action here, you have this. So I'd gotten a grasp of that, but still I didn't really know how to express myself very well using that. So what I ended up doing was sketching up all the sequences. So it makes it easier for me to visualize what I'm trying to achieve. And that became like a thing. I always did that on all commercials. I only changed when I started working in Nigeria, because of things are so uncertain. You might sketch and plan that I'm going to shoot this like this, but then when you get there, something has changed, and now you have to adjust. So at that point, I started focusing more on the story parts, focusing more on the story. So now, if I have the story right, I just have to apply it to whatever environment I find myself in. Yeah. I find that now I do less storyboards. I mostly do storyboards for action sequences. Like if there's an intense sort of action or a very complex sequence that's happening, and it requires like, for example, a lot of moving parts. You have someone walking from here. Then I can draw sort of a map of the whole thing. Yeah, but I do it less and less these days, because now I'm a bit more. I'm quicker on my feet. Like I know this, like what I need to achieve, the shots that I need to achieve a certain situation and make it work. So yeah, that's how I work now.
Even like before even you change it, like for me, I looked at it as super cool to see how it's like, it made my brain think of like something we envision in our brains. I mean, we didn't draw it, but like then how you envision it is how it plays out. That's how I was looking at it. And I was like, that's super cool. But still, in the same movie, you, what do you call it? Casting? Is it casting? Yeah. When you're looking for people to act in the movie, you had your mom act in the movie because you were trying to look for cheap labor, and she did a good job. And then you said, now you have to find ways of paying her. What was, how did you get your mom on set, and how did you convince her to be part of your film?
So my mom, I got her to do it. We were in lockdown, and the movie wasn't finished. I needed to figure out ways of getting some extra shots. So I had my dad. My dad picked me up from my place and took me home. And then I just started shooting from like around the neighborhood with people I had around me. So like family, friends, neighbors. We just move around and look for places that fit with the visuals of the film. Like maybe around the corner next to some church. There's a place there we can shoot. Yeah, so things like that. But she really had no option. It was either she's in there or or she can watch me fail. Yeah, but
I like the way you say that.
Yeah.
You say that, but to hear this behind the stories, and I know I'm one of the people who likes to film and go ahead to sit on the screen, which is cool about podcasts because you get to sit down with the person who did it and tell you the things that we never saw. And I think from even before asking you the question of challenges is, first of all, it was during lockdown and there's a lot of challenges you'd have faced in that time. What other challenges did you face while trying to make this film?
money mostly. Movies are so expensive. You run out of cash like more often than you'd think. Uh, being the first film, Ugandan film on Netflix, there was a lot of things I wasn't aware of when I was filming. I didn't know those things were necessary,
Mm-hmm.
So you just learn. You learn along the way that
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done this. So those were the major challenges. The rest of it, also the challenge of not being experienced enough in writing. So I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. I was just figuring it out. That I think the best way to put it is I was naive. I just dived in and I started pulling myself on like whatever I could find. Just trying to stay afloat. Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, and I keep reminding people here and people who are tuning in or people who are listening in, it's you don't have to have everything figured out. Sometimes you just have to start and you just have to do it. But anytime you sit down to have everything figured out, you will never figure it out. You're just going to learn as you do it and as you go.
Yeah. So I was also going to say that now I have like 3 stories that I've written, and I haven't yet been able to create these films because now I know some things. That is it called the Dunning-Kruger effect? Like the more you know you don't know.
Yeah.
So before I was naive, I thought I knew what I was doing, so I just dived in. But now that I know a bit of what's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
there's so many things I have to look at. There's so many things that have to work in order for a project to actually take off. So when you look at all those things, oh my God, you just take months of like, okay, now I need to solve this. It's better to do movies when you don't know, when you're naive and you just jump in. That's how you get things done.
Walk us through how your movie ended up on Netflix. How did that happen? Did they just call you? Did you reach out? Or how were you able to get the movie up on Netflix?
It was mostly the trailer that did it. The trailer.
Mm.
I made because of my background in commercials, I put up these commercials and I made this trailer and it got people interested. A lot of people started checking
good.
it out. Yeah, so it's the trailer that moved and got to the right people, and this person introduces you to this person and so on and so forth, and then you get the person sending you messages like, I would like to check out this film. Then you see that they have that Netflix logo at the bottom of their name. So I was like, okay, let me try this and see. Yeah, so I tell people, and a lot of people think, in Uganda, it's who do you know?
Who do you know? Yeah.
So a lot of people assumed that maybe I knew someone that worked in there. No one. I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
Just made a trailer and it moved around. The internet did its thing, and it ended up.
And that's how it happens. I tell people all the time, like sometimes you do work, like even before that movie, you had done a lot of work, like maybe people didn't know, but it only takes one, and then just you get a breakthrough through what you do. So that keeps me motivated all the time, and I hope this motivates any filmmaker out there who is on their journey doing what they're doing. Just keep doing it. Don't give up, and one day you get a breakthrough.
Yeah.
The good things from Netflix comes with some bad things, scammers. And I enjoyed the conversation you had with this one guy who said you won Oscars. He said when you unknowingly thought you won the Oscars, the guy was like, hey, look, man, you won the Oscars. Just tell me about I'm going to attach that conversation here because I saw it on Instagram. It was funny as hell. You guys going back and forth. Just talk me through that.
Yeah, so you know, when a lot of people think they know things, like, you know how we assume you see someone on TV and you assume they're a millionaire just because they're on TV.
Mhm.
So when you sell a movie to Netflix, they assume you're getting like David Fincher money or you're getting like Scorsese money,
Yeah.
but you're getting like very little money. But then because of contracts, you signed all these contracts. Now you can't disclose uh, the dealings of like, because they don't want you to say this is how much they're giving me, because then it will give someone else an edge when they're negotiating. They will know what, things like that. It happens everywhere in business. Even like employees are sometimes not allowed to share their
Yeah.
salaries with
Yeah.
other
My
employees.
job, we don't talk about our salaries with each other.
Yeah. So because of that reason, when people hear that you got a deal like that, oh my God, you start getting all these people like thinking you've made it. You must have so much money. People trying to sue you because at some point you used their song somewhere. They gave you permission then, but now that you've got a Netflix, you have to be paying. You have to, things like that. So there's all those challenges that happen. But then there's also people like that who texted me asking me for money. But that was a very funny story.
But we need 200K to get it from California.
Yeah. So someone was just trying to take me for a ride. Just trying to scam some money from me.
It was funny when you told him, send me 5K so I can go to the mobile money and I send you. And then you went back to negotiate. He's like, okay,
I thought about the is it a border logic, the border guys logic, where is it taxi people that they ask you, give me this much, then I give you this much, and a lot of times you're like, huh, how does that work? I said it to him, and then he came back with even a crazier one.
Counter offer.
Yeah, a counter offer. It was very funny.
You know why I thought that was funny? We get these scam calls in the US, a lot of them. And actually, just 2 days ago, I got one. The lady called me, and I talk about this for my people in Uganda, and I will use that as an example because you need to be sharp, because people will get you and they try to get desperate people and they lie to them of these good things. Because when you put it in your head, you're like, yeah, I'm going to get this, I'm going to get that. And that's how they've been able to scam a lot of people, even in Uganda. But even in the US, they do scam that. So the lady calls me. He's like, hey, do you have any credit card debt or any loan, personal loan? I was like, no, I don't. I mean, I knew she was going to scam me. So I just said, no, I don't. I was like, how do you not have any date? But like, let's say I said I have. And like, they try to get people who are in situations like you have a date. They give you all these promises. We're going to help you pay off your debt. I'm like, these people. So they find somebody who has debt. She'll be really excited. They ask them to do something, and then it just gets you into more trouble. Or even you lose more money than what they owe you or something. So I asked her, how do you benefit in helping me in my debt? Like, because they have to benefit somewhere. And I asked her, how do you benefit? But she couldn't explain that to me. And I told her, no, I don't have any debt right now. I was like, oh, you're a good person. Nobody lives in America without a debt. I mean, she was just extravagant. But I see how that if they found somebody who was desperate and somebody who needs solutions, and I have a lot of friends in Uganda who are like that, deal with cola, deal with cola. You just go in that deal and you just lose everything that you have. So people need to be sharp and up on their toes every time.
I think for me, in my life, I have never been scammed. And the reason that I have never been scammed is anytime someone offers me something, I look at it from their perspective, like what do they stand to benefit? If they're giving me a deal where it appears like I'm the only one that benefits, then that's a scam. It's clearly a scam. It's too good to be true. It's probably not true. A lot of times when people they're giving you a deal that's like quickly, you have to do it quickly before you have time to think. obviously a scam. So that's kind of how I've been able to avoid scams. And yeah,
Yeah.
you have to appeal to people's interests. That's how scammers work.
Mm-hmm.
What if someone is desperate for something,
Yeah.
you offer them a deal where they get the thing they want,
Mm-hmm.
but they have to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't give them time to consult or think about it.
Yeah.
It's usually how it happens.
And we talk about these things. I don't want to skip them because you hear a lot of stories, people getting scammed. I'm like, what was he thinking? Or where was his head at? Or things like that. And people need to see that. Even like with proposals, like I've written a lot of proposals to people. I have to prove to you how you're going to benefit from me and how I'm going to benefit from you. And that's how it works. Like it's not like somebody's taking.
Yeah.
It's not like you're just going to get things for free. Like sometimes it's nice to get things for free, but in most cases it's not gonna end up like that. But yeah, that was a funny conversation, and I can't wait for people to see those clips. But in more of other movies that you've done, you've had The Blind Date, 16 Rounds, and I enjoyed the 16 Round. Actually, I saw a clip of Kenneth Mugabe working on the what was it? The soundtrack. How was it like working on the 16 Round? The cover was amazing. It was amazing of the 16 Round. Do you design your cover photos too for your films?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I do that. It was inspired by is it Black Dynamite? One of those black exploitation films.
Mm-hmm.
So I like movies that have like posters that feel like film posters, not just putting famous people on the page.
Yeah,
I like it when there's a bit of like style to it.
Mm-hmm. And
Yes.
the guy you had in there kind of looks like Samuel L. Jackson. Is he Ugandan?
Yeah,
he's a skinny Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, he does. He looks like Sam Jackson. I like him.
Who is he? Is he Ugandan?
Is Michael Wawiyu Jr.
Okay.
Yeah, he's Ugandan.
Okay.
Proper Ugandan.
I don't think I know him. But that's also like did really good 16 rounds, because I think at some point it had over 200,000 views on YouTube in 4 weeks. It was really good. A good film.
Yeah. It's done quite well. I was shocked by the Kung Fu one that I did. The last one I did, Ubuntu Uppercut, which got like 400,000 in a very short time.
Yeah.
It showed me that I'm not the only person that grew up on martial arts films.
It's funny you talk about Ubuntu Uppercut film, because that was gonna be my next mention. It's another film that I really liked and enjoyed, and all these films. But also adding to what you just said is like, I think people now have picked up on your work and what you do, and we are fans. Like anything you put out now, we like it, we love it, and it's just gonna go up from here because of the bar that you have set in these films. Like that work is from Loukman Ali. It's amazing work, and we enjoy it. And now we got hooked. So anything that you put out, like, we're gonna love. And I'm speaking for the thousands of people out there that enjoy your films, and which it's appreciation. It's just giving back, and even we can see this through the awards you've won. Your films have won African Folktales. The movie you did with Kabito, that's her name, Kabito? African Folktales Reimagined, Kabito, yeah, Katera of the Punishment, which also went to Netflix, didn't it? Yeah, I think it was on Netflix too.
Yeah.
So do you have 2 movies on Netflix or more than that?
I have one now because Girl in Yellow Jumper, it's a licensing ran out. It's no longer there. So so that one is now on other networks. Girl in the Yellow Jumper.
I think Netflix does that with all other movies, because sometimes you go, or like I will share with a friend, hey, go watch this movie on Netflix. Yeah, it's not there. Like I think it's just like there's a time frame for that.
They have to renew licenses after every 4 years, I think.
I know you've worked with a lot of Ugandan actors and actresses. How is it like working with them in these films and partnering with other people that have helped you to get these movies out?
I mean, actors, like working with anyone, you sometimes have to also understand them and understand what they want with their own lives. And yes, I mean, I've not really had any major issues working with anyone, especially the actors, because we generally know what we're trying to do, and we plan, and we agree on how things are going to be done. Like pretty much before we start anything, we meet, discuss, talk about everything, and yeah, by the time we start shooting, it's quite smooth. You know, a lot of productions are usually very complicated and stressful, so there's always issues. But a lot of issues we have sometimes are external things. They're chasing us from our location. We're running out of money. Yeah, it usually has nothing to do with anyone, individual person.
I have enjoyed having some of the film producers on the podcast. I had a conversation with Hakim Ziwa with his short film that he just released, and also now having you. And this, just having conversation with you guys, I've seen that the Uganda film industry is growing. Is there anything you think that needs to change or improve for it to thrive even better than this?
Yeah, there's something that we're actually currently working on. That a way to monetize our movies, especially on the local scene, in the vibandas and all these local cinemas. If we're trying to figure out ways of monetizing our films so that people can get paid, in a sense, more like per view. Yeah, every time the movie is shown in a chibanda, the person that made the film is able to earn an income. Designing a system, we're currently designing a system that will enable that to happen. And I think that's kind of what we've been missing.
No, that's a good plan, and I love where it's at now. Like things have changed. We no longer like back then. People used not to watch Ugandan films because they were complaining about the production, and like the production is not good. But now we have like good production films, and you guys are investing in these films. This is the third time I think. Oh, I had Josh SB and Ziwa. And then you have worked with Quad A, and that has been one of the biggest help in the Uganda films with their audio. How was your experience working with Quad A in your films? Because I've seen you've had them on some of your films.
Not some of them. I think I've had them on all of them. The only two I didn't have them was Blind Date. Was Monday and Bad Mexican, which I did myself. After I discovered those guys, you see, people talk about collaboration in Uganda, but the way they think collaboration works is like, if you're going to sing, go and bring everyone that sings and you guys sit in the same room and sing. For me, I see it in this way. If you're going to create an album, you get the best guitarist, you get the best drummer, you pull out the best people in each discipline, bring them together, and then you produce something. When it comes to movies, I have to get people that are really good at what they're doing, but align with the vision that I'm trying to achieve, you know? So these guys are so good at what they do, so it aligns with what I'm trying to achieve, you know? And the first time I worked with them, I liked what we got, and it's kind of we've been just on the up working with them. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's been amazing, and I've had good things about them and good feedback from the people that I've worked with them. So shout out again to Quad A. I think this is the third shout out on every time I have somebody who is working in films, commercials, and anything. They don't forget to mention that. If you had unlimited budget of money, what kind of film would you create?
I would create, I think, a more personal film. A lot of films that I have are mostly inspired by other films that I watched growing up. So I haven't necessarily had like my kind of a voice. If I had money, I don't think I want an unlimited budget. I want a movie that's budgeted. I feel like not having enough or having like barely, let's say I'm making a movie that should be 200,000, but I have 180,000. So I'm lacking 20,000. I prefer it like that, where I'm lacking some money. It helps you create things better. Like something might seem like this is the best way to do it, but because you just don't have enough, you figure out a better way of doing it to save money. I prefer it that way. So I would probably make a movie more kind of about my childhood, like growing up. Inspired by that, not about it. I don't want to make a biographical film, but something inspired by my own life.
When I get money, I want to make a film about my life. My journey is crazy. A lot of people, when I tell them my story, they say, "Have you written a book? Have you written a book?" Me, I can't write. I cannot write. I found a lady here in America who I told my story, and I go, "I can help you write your story of your journey, like how I grew up in Uganda, and then I had these crazy dreams of being like a aircraft mechanic and a pilot, and I've never been on a plane." And so I tell people that story and how I end up in America. Now I work on airplanes, I fly airplanes, all that stuff. I'm like, and now I'm just summarizing. So that's a crazy journey. But I've always thought of like writing an inspirational book, but I feel like, no, maybe when I get money, I'll make a film about the journey and just put it out there. So that's one of my goals, my future goals. Like when I get it.
But that's if for the first time. A lot of times, people tell me that, oh, my story is. Every time someone says that, I roll my eyes almost to the back of my head, because every person thinks their story is very interesting. For the first time, actually, your story sounds very interesting. Sounds interesting. A lot of times, people tell me that, oh, my story is so inspiring, simply because they suffered or this. But you have to understand, everyone sees the world from their perspective, and from their perspective, they're the main character, and everyone thinks their story is more important and more interesting than anyone else's, which is usually not the case. A lot of times, you need to ask yourself a question: why should anyone else care about my story? Why? But if it's not inspiring enough, I mean, like a story of a kid from, let's say, ghetto in Uganda who dreams about flying planes and ends up actually being a mechanic, and that can inspire. You see how that can be inspiring. But these things of, I suffered in the village and I ran away and I'm still suffering now. That is just that is just a sad story. That we apologize for your life being like that. But it's not. There's nothing to learn from it. There's nothing to. Mm-hmm. It's just a bad story. It's just
unfortunate.
Yes, there's nothing. It's just unfortunate. There's nothing there,
What advice would you give to a young child out there who looks up to you and wants to do the same thing that you do? What are some of the things you would tell that person?
I would only tell them to educate themselves enough to be able to write whatever story they have in their heads and do it. The longer you wait, the more you're unlikely to do it. Just go out there, find a couple of friends, get a camera. These days, cameras are very easy to get, and just shoot. And just like that, you're a director.
Yeah, that's a good advice. And some people, even people who are trying to do things, they complicate their own things. Like sometimes, and I've had people reach out to me like, "Hey, how do you do your podcast? How do you do?" Like yesterday, I'm not gonna mention any names because I don't even have the name. It was a number that I didn't save in my phone. Somebody reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, I want to start a YouTube channel, and I know you have a YouTube channel. I want you to help me." And this guy, he said he wants to start a podcast. I mean, his conversation put me off the way he started it. He said, "I know you're in business. I want to hook you up with some business. Do you want a loan?" I told him, "No, I don't want a loan. I don't need a loan." And then he was like, "Oh, so you got your life together?" I was like, "Not like that, but I don't need a loan." And it's a random number texting me. And then he said, "How have you been? I'm going to Dubai and then I'll come to America next week. Hopefully I'll get to meet you." I was like, "When you get to America, just hit me up. We can link up."
Like America is one village like this. You reach there and then everyone is just there.
And sometimes I try to be a nice person because I want other people to treat me the same way. But sometimes it's hard to be a nice person. So this guy kept changing topics. So he goes, I want to start a YouTube channel and I want to start a podcast. I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. I can help you with that. But you can also use Google because I got most of the stuff on Google, and actually YouTube itself, just go Google how to do a YouTube video. And he said, thanks for the conviction. He never responded anything else. But like, I wasn't trying to be mean, but like sometimes advice, we can only get much from people. Sometimes we have to do the work ourselves and then ask as you go. Like we can only give advice on something you can do, but you're not going to do the things the same way I do it. Somebody's not going to do the thing the same way you do it.
Yeah. It wouldn't work even if you tried. Because if someone got rich from buying Bitcoin and selling Bitcoin in like 2005 or whatever, whenever it started, you can't really expect the same thing to work for you like that because it was a thing then, you know. The people that made money from that .com era where everyone with a website would make money or something. People are going to make money off AI now, but it probably won't be the same for like people who will be born in a world where AI is already like, you know, yeah, so things change.
Has anybody ever told you look like A$AP Rocky, the Rihanna husband or something like
that? Yeah. Someone has told me that before. I'm like, they said I'm the low budget A$AP Rocky. I've had that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also someone has told me I look like Epas.
Epas. Oh, wow.
Which was like, I always thought I was handsome, but now I look like Epas.
You remind me.
When he sees this, he will kill me.
Shout out to Epas. Epas is a good friend of mine, actually. I'm gonna. He has to see this. You have a clip with a snake. I don't know where you are. That's one my biggest fear. I'm afraid of snakes. Anything that crawls down, I don't. Where was that, and how did you feel holding that snake?
It's in is it called the reptile something sanctuary, something like that in Entebbe. It's funny how people say that, oh, you're holding that snake. I was terrified holding that snake. Yeah, it's something that I was like really stressed that day, so I wanted to do something that kind of like sets off my adrenaline so that I can kind of, I don't do any drugs, I don't smoke, I don't do alcohol, I don't do anything. So I road dog. My life is just road dogging my existence. So I needed something to like help me kind of like feel something.
Yeah.
So I went to this place and I paid to hold the snake. And for a long time, I was just like, I don't think I can touch it. But people kept coming. Then some kids from Congo came. This chick, the way they were holding the snake, like the head, a little boy just going around and just holding it like this, turning it and putting it on there. I was like, what? And this chick told me, no, these people are used to snakes. Some of them even eat them. So it's not, it's like you playing with a chicken.
Yeah.
I was like, shh. So at last, they gave it to me. I held it. But it was more like, it has to be like this. If it turns towards me, I'll be like, oh my God. So I purposely edited the clip to make it seem like I wasn't pissing my pants, but I was freaking out.
I have a friend who had because in America people keep them in their houses as pets and stuff. I had a friend I went to visit, and he has one. He convinced me to touch it. I just touched it like this. I didn't hold it in my hands. I just put my hand on its skin. That's how close I got to it, but I was still like scared because he wouldn't let me go.
It's such a strange feeling, isn't it?
It is a strange feeling, like
because it's a cold thing. It's cold, but it's alive. It's so weird. So weird, yeah.
I don't like it. But that reminds me of my first encounter with you on one of my posts on Instagram. I posted a clip from one of the lady who I had on the podcast. She was talking about breastfeeding a snake, and you commented and said what did you say? You said the final boss of lying, of like what she was saying. And then I was like, oh. Yeah. So then you explained to me and you said, the little science I know tells me that reptiles do not breastfeed. Yet the way she's representing it makes it seem Like she's not. It's not even the odd part. This reminds me of the stories that you often hear on radio, written by traditional healers to promote their businesses. I'd never heard of anybody in my life who was breastfeed a snake, because I don't even care of snakes that much.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was listening to her story and her saying that. And the crazy part was that was not our main conversation. It's something that she just mentioned as we were talking. So I didn't want to divert from the topic we're talking about. So I didn't really give it enough time to explain that. But I was still also like wondering how snakes breastfeed and how they do that. Like what did you have in mind when you had that? And I know you explained it like in the comment, but if you can add something to it.
So I had that story. It was going around on social media. So I wouldn't say I'm a very religious person. I'm not so faith driven. I'm as I told you before, I'm so interested in science, and like there's some things I believe in, but most things I prefer things that are actually like based in reality. So I had these stories going around, and funny thing is, even when I was younger, and I used to listen to those letters on Dembe FM,
Dembe FM.
those letters, like you would find women listening to them and believing. And in my head, I was like, they can't be getting these stories every week, every day. It's a fantastical story of something, and it all ends up with a witch doctor that was able to treat whatever situation was happening, and they give you the witch doctor's number. And they present it like it's a story, it's a real story. And I was like, I think these are commercials. Later on, this chick admitted that most of them were just made up commercials. But people believed in these things. And I think it's the same thing. Someone came up and they said there was a rich guy. So I got the same story. I had some chick over at my house, and she said that, "Oh, are you one of those people that have a snake in your house?" And I was like, why? Am I that rich? Do I look that rich? You know? But there was a story that someone, a rich guy, took a chick to his house, and they had a snake, and they forced her to breastfeed the snake. And I'm not saying that can't happen. They can make you put your breast inside a snake's mouth. That can happen, and it can give off an impression that you're breastfeeding the snake. The only thing I was contesting is that snakes don't need that. Like if a snake did that, they would probably be biting you in self-defense and not thinking that they're breastfeeding, because snakes, they don't do that, you know. But we usually have trends in Uganda where I could think of a story. For example, I could say, I mean, if you cut this out, this section that I'm about to do, if you cut it out and you present it by itself, and I say something like, one time we visited a friend, and she showed me around the house, and very nice TV. They have so much money. You can see the house is like fancy and everything is fancy. But then there was this one room in the house that we got into, and there was like a mat on the floor. And there's nothing else in the room, right? There was a mat, and then there was like a small cushion on the mat. And she said, "Oh, we should sit over there," and like she had like tea and all these things. And she's like, "Join me." So she sits over there, and I'm thinking, what if there's a hole under there? Because I've had those stories before. You know, what if there's a hole under there? So I'm like, she sits there first, of course, to prove to me that there's no hole, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe there's nothing. Maybe it's just a thing like she likes doing. You know, people that like yoga, right? It's like a yoga mat. So maybe she's one of those people that likes to sit on the ground, stay in touch with her chi and whatnot. So I move over and sit. And the moment I sit like this, I just pass out. And I just, after passing out, like I'm floating and I'm just seeing myself on that mat. Like I'm above and I'm just seeing myself on that mat sitting. And she's also there and we're doing things, but I'm not in my body anymore. I'm just watching myself from above. And from that point on, I was like stuck on this chick for a long time. Like I think she put me in a trance or something. Now, you see, if someone listened to that and they believe in that sort of thing, they might actually believe it. It's absolute nonsense. I've been making it up as I'm saying it. If I'm listening back to it, it even doesn't sound believable because I've been making it up as I go, and it's not well thought out of. I didn't think about everything properly. If you ask me a question, I would probably. There's so many mistakes in the story itself, but there are people that want to believe things like that. They're just looking for things like that to believe. So when they hear things like that, they'll be like, "Hey, there's a guy I heard. He said this," and they'll believe it. And there's people that will believe this. If you edited out that section and posted it, people might believe it. Some people will question it, like I would, and then there were people that would be like, "Oh, that's real," So I'm not one of those people that hears a story and I just buy it. It needs to make sense.
I think I'm the same way like you are. Like when I hear a story, there's a lot of things I have to add up for me to even, how was that possible? How were you able? Like there's a lot of questions I have before I believe something. And when somebody can prove to me that they have all the answers to that, and I'm like, yeah, I see how that could work. I see how.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, in Uganda, people believe, like I usually say this in almost every episode that I do, like embozi wa boda boda. Musajja wa boda agenda kugamba ekyo kizimbe kya gundi. The person will hear it, agenda agambe munne ekyo kizimbe kya gundi. Ne naawe tompakanya oli omusajja yaŋŋamba. Omusajja yatukaka sawano. N'agamba musimanya biki biki they did this. Nga this guy is talking like with proof. Naye nga naye he just heard from somebody. It's like I usually listen to those guys and I'm like, I'm just laughing. Like, how do you believe somebody because somebody said? Like, it doesn't make sense.
It's the same thing with miracles. All this in Islam, it's mostly they're called majinis. You've never seen anyone that has ever witnessed anything like that happening. Like they've always arrived when it just happened, or they know someone that was there when it happened. But there's no one, and even people that say that they saw it for themselves, they were like they saw someone doing something that someone can pretend to do, but no one has ever seen like someone floating and staying in the air. But they've heard someone saying, I saw someone floating in the air. They had demons and they were floating or something, but no one has seen it. Or they arrived when he has just fallen down. When you arrived on the border, they're telling you, hey, abadde mubanga. But you always arrive a few minutes before or after. Like, so for me, a lot of things I hear, I'm like, I think you're just trying to find something to believe, but that just doesn't happen.
Anyway, Loukman, I love having a conversation with you. I think we could talk for days and days and days just having a conversation. But I know a lot of people's listening or attention span is not very long. They might not process even with what we just talked about. But I'm going to end with one segment.
Data.
Yeah, even data
is not enough.
That is true. But did you design GNL Zamba's cover photo of the Spear, his album? I saw you posted on your Instagram. Did you design that?
Yeah. Meanwhile, GNL Zamba and I, when we meet, we can talk.
Yeah.
I remember when we met, he was with his girlfriend and I was also with my ex. And we spoke about spirituality, about Africanness, colonialism. And at some point we noticed that the girls were looking at each other and they were like, what's happening? What's happening here? Because it was like a 2 people meeting. We were 4 people, but everything was just us talking. And these other 2 people were just seated there, not knowing what to do. Yeah. So anyways, I designed that thing for him. I think after that meeting, we were supposed to work on a project together, but it hasn't yet happened.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. I've actually talked to him and we're working on having him on the podcast someday, but it's pretty crazy. Like every time I'm doing research for my guests, I see a lot of these collaborations with him, and I can't fail to mention it because he's a great guy and he's an amazing guy, and just mention. But even the work that you did itself, like I when I see cover art, I like to pay attention to details, like how did Loukman design this? What was going on in his mind when he designed this cover art? Like even listening to GNL's songs, I saw the cover art. I'm usually big at cover art when I listen to music, by the way. When somebody releases a new album, I look at the design of their cover art. What does it speak to the album you release? And this is something we had a conversation with A-Pass when I had him on the podcast about his cover arts for his albums and how he goes about it. So it speaks. Some people just like vibes. Some of us just like to connect things with things. So when I saw the cover art on GNL's album, I was like, oh, what does that mean? How does that? It was cool to find out that you designed it, which is amazing. So yeah, shout out to GNL Zamba and the amazing work you're doing. So the last segment, we have rapid fire. Rapid fire is where you just answer the first question that comes in your head. It might not be the right one. It might be the right one, but just want to see the first thing that comes out. And these are not hard questions. You're going to have 5. If you could have dinner with any filmmaker, who would it be?
To be Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Is he paying or am I paying? Wait, it doesn't matter.
He's paying.
Okay, then. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What's your favorite Call of Duty weapon loadout?
I like the SCR.
Okay.
Yeah, assault rifle. I like that one.
One film you've watched more than 5 times?
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Have you watched your own movies more than 5 times? Your own films that you make?
Nah.
No. Do you even watch?
Nah. Once it's out, I don't watch it again. I've
Really?
watched it so many times in the edit.
Anything? Yeah.
I don't want to see it again.
And even on screening.
Yeah.
So after screening, you don't watch it again. Like after the night before it comes out.
I've even been to a screening of Girl in the Yellow Jumper and I stepped out until it was finished. Then I came back in to do the Q&A.
Oh.
That's how uncomfortable it can get. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice was just do it. It's like that's the same thing I always say. Just do it.
Just do it.
Don't wait for permission. Yeah.
If you weren't a filmmaker or a film designer, what would you be doing?
I think I would have loved to be in the army. I like the army. Yeah, but I'd probably be dead because I'm a bit lazy. But
so final 3. What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Try not to burn bridges.
Yeah.
And also try to be humble. A lot of times you'll meet with people and you'll disagree, but you need to disagree respectfully. I think it's very important. When you're younger, like I started working when I was very, very young. So my arc happened slightly early on. Some of the things that people do in their 30s, I did in my early 20s, like almost late teens.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot of lessons and I've had some time to reconcile with some people. But sometimes you need to learn how to disagree with people respectively.
Yeah.
Like with respect, I disagree, but I respect you. That's very important.
Yeah, that's and I agree with that. What gets you excited about life?
To be honest, there's really not much for me. Yeah. I think I've outlived all my exciting years. These days I just exist. There's not much. There's not much excitement, to be honest. There's times I've spoken with my brother. I'm not a rich person in any form, but I'm okay. I think, and I've been with my brothers, and we wonder, like, if someone has like $100 billion, what do you do? What do you do with that? Like, I mean, you take away the trips, and I'm not a fan of traveling. Anyways, what do you eat? Do you eat 4 chickens instead of 1? Like, how many types of chickens can you have, to be honest? So for me, life is just a kind of a means to the next chapter.
No, I agree with that.
Just existing until this thing runs out. Yeah, I'm just living my timeline.
Yeah.
See how far I can go. Yeah.
And I agree with that 100%. You've mentioned Rwanda, and I remember on your Instagram you have 2 flags, Uganda and Rwanda. Are you a half caste, like half Rwandese, half Ugandan?
Yeah, my mom is Rwandan.
Okay.
And my dad is also from somewhere else, but he identifies as Ugandan. I don't want to out him.
Okay.
but he's also from somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't want the next time I go to get my passport, people asking me all these questions. Yeah. So
anyway,
I identify as half Ugandan, half Rwandan.
Okay. The final question. This is a signature question for the podcast. Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you will help me to have that person here to come and have a conversation with me.
Me, I think you should have GNL. I don't know if I can get him here, but I think GNL is he has a lot of kavozi.
We have talked, actually, texted back. He texted me and he said, I'm going to reach out to you on when to schedule my recording. So, but now that you've added the force, GNL, we want you on the podcast.
GNL should come.
I've talked to him, like we've been talking on WhatsApp. And everybody that I have here keeps talking about GNL. So that's a sign, Sebo, mkama wangi. Yangu tukubech voz. So people can get what they want.
I would have suggested Steve Jean, but how will you get Steve Jean?
There's always
he
a
doesn't
way.
like cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always a way.
He doesn't like cameras, but Steve Jean has been part of a lot of Ugandans.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Ugandans that are doing.
He's the one for Phenon Records, right?
Yeah. He's the guy. I mean, how I came from being a sketch artist and graphics designer to doing video, it's Steve Jean.
Okay.
He has mentored so many people.
He doesn't have to try. I'm going to reach out to him and I'll send him an invite.
Yeah.
And maybe by the time when Jimweleza, his heart will be like, I'm ready to go in the camera. And he gives us an appearance. So.
Yeah. I think maybe you should put it in this way. Like he has touched a lot of lives, especially creative people.
Yeah.
So it would be nice to also hear from him, like something.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us just know him as this guy that, made us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've not really sat down to listen to his thing.
His journey. Yeah. No, that would be amazing. Yeah. Anyway, Loukman.
Yes.
We've come to the end of this recording of this podcast. I appreciate you waiting for me. I think you've been there for like 4 hours. Quite an never come back. Man, you don't get this very often to somebody who is busy. I know your caller, you were working on something. I feel bad, but then I feel like this is a grace I need to extend to another person that you've showed me for my unprofessionalism. Because I messed up the timing. But I appreciate that you did this for me, and I'm glad that we're able to record this. You just listen to your journey, the things you've done, and maybe you're gonna impact somebody out there, and somebody will be like, I'm doing this because I listened to Loukman and his journey. So I appreciate that. Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
My name is Loukman Ali. I'm a filmmaker, and you check out my podcast with the Ugandan Boy. We've talked about filmmaking and a lot of other things that are very hard to summarize here. Check it out.